I was standing in the supplement aisle of my local health food store the other day, and I mean, I was just staring at this massive neon lit wall of tubs.
Oh, yeah. The wall of
Yes,
intimidation.
exactly. It's so overwhelming. Like some of these things are literally the size of small car tires.
They are, and they're heavy too.
Right, and
Yeah.
they're covered in, holographic labels, lightning bolts, and these really aggressive, jagged fonts.
Screaming about maximum anabolic potential.
Yes, maximum anabolic potential, extreme cell volumization. It's incredibly overwhelming.
You really is.
Because you go in there, just wanting to feel maybe a little less sore after a Tuesday night spin class
Well,
or like a heavy lifting session.
with everyday recovery.
Right. And then suddenly you're bombarded with proprietary blends and all this pseudoscientific jargon. I mean, you feel like you need a PhD in biochemistry just to pick a basic protein powder without getting completely scammed. Welcome to Radio BFit, by the way.
Welcome, everyone. And honestly, that feeling of overwhelm
Yeah.
is completely by design.
Wait, really? Like, they want you confused.
Oh, absolutely. The marketing noise in the fitness industry, it relies heavily on that exact state of confusion.
Yeah.
They want you standing there, overwhelmed, feeling like you are fundamentally missing out on some magic formula.
Because if you're confused, you just open your wallet.
Exactly. If they can convince you that recovery is this, like, proprietary secret locked inside a $70 tub, they win.
Yeah.
But the reality of human physiology is so much more grounded, and frankly, it's much more elegant than anything printed on a holographic label.
Which is exactly our mission for this deep dive today. We are completely cutting through that jargon.
Yes, we are.
We've pulled together a massive stack of sources. I mean, we're talking the latest meta-analyses, the updated guidelines from the International Society of Sports
The
Nutrition.
real heavy hitters.
Exactly, to figure out what actually works versus what is, purely hype. We want to map out the actual evidence-based science of muscle recovery supplementation, so you don't feel overwhelmed, and honestly, so you don't waste your hard-earned money.
Which is so important right now.
It is. But before we even get into specific powders or capsules, we kind of need to establish the biological baseline, right?
Yeah.
Because if we don't understand the exact nature of the trauma we put our bodies through during a workout, I mean, we can't possibly understand how to apply the solution.
Exactly. You have to look at the chronological timeline of what happens under the hood when you train.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, when you engage in intense exercise, you aren't actually building muscle in that moment.
You're breaking it down.
You are applying controlled trauma. At the microscopic level, heavy mechanical tension physically shears and tears the contractile proteins in your muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Right. And almost immediately, your body experiences this huge spike in oxidative stress. And your immune system, it recognizes this tissue damage and kicks off a massive inflammatory cascade.
So it's basically a localized crisis response.
Precisely. You've got macrophages and neutrophils rushing to the site of the micro tears to clear out cellular debris.
Like an emergency cleanup crew.
Yes. So the entire goal of recovery, I mean, your nutrition, your sleep, and your supplement stack,
Yeah.
is just to manage that localized crisis. In the literature, this is often broken down into the 3 Rs.
Okay, the 3 Rs. What are they?
Repair, rebalance, and remodel.
Repair, rebalance, remodel. Okay, I want to visualize this properly because the fitness industry always uses that really tired house renovation analogy.
Oh, the sledgehammer and the brick.
Yeah, exactly. Like the workout is the sledgehammer, protein is the bricks. I mean, I think we can do better for you guys listening. Let's look at this through the lens of wildfire ecology.
I like where this is going.
Right. So, if your body is a forest, a heavy workout is a controlled burn. The repair phase is planting the new seeds, supplying the raw materials to grow back stronger.
Makes sense.
And then the rebalance phase is managing the smoldering embers, because you need some heat to crack open certain seeds to grow, right?
Yes, you need a little inflammation.
Exactly. But if you don't control the embers, the fire spreads and it torches the healthy trees, which is unchecked inflammation.
Love that.
And finally, the remodel phase is fortifying the root systems deep underground so the forest can withstand future storms.
That is a vastly superior framework, honestly,
Yeah.
because it respects the dynamic living nature of the human body. It's not just dead bricks and mortar.
Exactly. It's a living ecosystem.
So let's start with replanting the forest, the repair phase. Physiologically, this means supplying your body with essential amino acids and creatine to drive muscle protein synthesis.
Got to get those seeds in the ground.
Right, and replenish cellular energy stores. If you don't provide the seeds and the soil nutrients, the forest simply won't regrow.
So let's dive straight into those seeds. Based on the International Society of Sports Nutrition guidelines we pulled, the primary mechanism for that repair phase relies on protein.
It does.
But specifically, it relies on something called the leucine trigger. And the numbers here are very specific, right?
Very specific.
The ISSN notes that 20 to 40 grams of protein within 60 minutes post-exercise provides a significant hypertrophy boost. But they actually dial it in even further to a specific body weight formula.
They do, yeah. Because a flat 20 to 40 grams, it just doesn't account for the massive variance in human body sizes.
Right. I'm going to need a different amount than someone twice my size.
Exactly. So the optimized dosage derived from the literature is 0.3 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, consumed immediately after training.
Okay, so let me do the math on that. For a listener weighing 80 kilograms, which is about 176 pounds, that translates to roughly 24 grams of highly bioavailable protein.
Spot on. But the total protein isn't actually the most critical factor here. No. The absolute non-negotiable metric is that the protein serving must contain at least 3 grams of the amino acid leucine.
Yeah, I found this part of the research fascinating. Why does leucine get top billing? I mean, you look at the back of a whey protein tub, and there's a whole profile of 20 different amino acids.
It's a long list.
Yeah. Why is leucine the VIP?
Because leucine is entirely unique in how it interacts with your cellular machinery. It acts as the direct trigger for a signaling pathway called mTOR.
The mechanistic target of rapamycin.
Wow, you've been doing your homework.
I try.
Yes, mTOR. You can think of mTOR as the master biological switch for muscle growth.
Oh, okay.
When the concentration of leucine in your bloodstream hits that specific threshold, about 3 grams, it physically binds to and activates the mTOR pathway.
It's like flipping a breaker.
Essentially, yes, is screaming at your cells, we have the raw materials, turn on muscle protein synthesis now.
So wait, if I consume 25 grams of a low-quality protein that only contains, say, 1 gram of leucine, my body absorbs the amino acids, but the mTOR switch never gets flipped.
Correct.
I have the lumber, but the foreman never showed up to tell the crew to start building.
That's exactly what happens. The amino acids might be utilized for general energy or, other metabolic processes, but you miss out on that acute spike in muscle repair.
Oh, wow.
This is why the source of your protein matters immensely, especially when timing is a factor.
Which brings up the digestion speed aspect. The sources draw a very hard line between whey isolate and casein protein.
Right, so whey isolate has been heavily refined to strip away the fats and lactose.
That's why it's an isolate.
Exactly. And because of that, it requires very little digestive effort from your stomach. It rapidly empties into the small intestine, spikes your blood amino acid levels, and delivers that leucine payload incredibly fast.
Boom.
Yep. That rapid spike is what forcefully flips the mTOR switch. Casein, on the other hand, is the slower, more methodical sibling.
It actually coagulates in the acidic environment of the stomach, right? Like it forms a sort of gel.
It does. And because it forms that gel, the digestive enzymes have to slowly chip away at it.
Just slowly carving it down.
Exactly. Releasing a steady, slow drip of amino acids into your bloodstream over like 5 to 7 hours.
Wow.
So you wouldn't want casein immediately after a workout.
Because it won't spike leucine fast enough to maximize mTOR.
Exactly. But taking casein right before you go to sleep, that is brilliant.
Because it provides an uninterrupted supply of building blocks while your body is fasting overnight.
Exactly.
Okay, but let me challenge the timing aspect of this, though. The literature mentions this 60-minute window.
Ah, the anabolic window.
Right. We've all seen that guy at the gym who drops his final deadlift and instantly starts frantically shaking a blender bottle like a madman.
Yes, we've all seen him.
Because he thinks his muscles are literally going to evaporate if he doesn't drink his whey within 5 minutes.
It's pure panic.
Yeah. But if I have a protein-rich lunch at noon and I work out at 5:00 p.m., aren't those amino acids from lunch still circulating in my blood? Do I really need to panic about a 60-minute anabolic window?
It's a great challenge, and you are hitting on what sports scientists call the anabolic window myth.
So it's a myth.
You are completely right. If you ate a mixed macro meal a few hours prior, your gastrointestinal tract is still actively absorbing and releasing those nutrients. You are not in a catabolic crisis.
So the gym bro is shaking his bottle for nothing.
Pretty much. The panic is entirely unwarranted.
So why do the guidelines still emphasize the post-workout window just out of habit.
No, it's because while the window isn't a cliff you fall off of, your muscles are uniquely sensitized to nutrients immediately following mechanical tension.
Okay.
The cellular doors are wide open, providing a rapid digesting whey isolate with 3 grams of leucine shortly after your session is simply the most efficient way to take advantage of that heightened sensitivity.
Ah, I get it.
It's not about preventing muscle loss. It's about optimizing the peak rate of synthesis. It's an optimization strategy, not a survival mechanism.
Okay, that completely reframes it for me. It's about being prepared, not paranoid.
Exactly.
So, we've replanted the seeds of our forest with protein and leucine, but the cellular machinery needs actual chemical energy to execute the repair process.
It takes energy to build.
Right. Building new tissue is highly energetically demanding. And that brings us to the other half of the foundation, creatine monohydrate.
Yes, creatine is, without a doubt, the most thoroughly researched, clinically validated sports supplement in human history.
It really is.
And the consumer guides in our sources confirm that standard creatine monohydrate is not only the safest option, it is exponentially more cost-effective than any of the advanced forms marketers try to push.
Oh, like creatine ethyl ester or creatine hydrochloride?
Exactly. Don't waste your money. Monohydrate is all you need.
I always feel like creatine has a massive PR problem outside of bodybuilding circles, though.
Oh, definitely.
Like, endurance athletes or casual gym goers hear creatine and immediately picture someone trying to pack on 30 pounds of water weight and just bulk up.
Yep, the whole musclehead stereotype.
Right. But our sources are specifically positioning it as a fundamental recovery tool, not just a mass builder. What is it actually doing for recovery at the cellular level?
That PR problem is very real, but it fundamentally misunderstands the biochemistry. Creatine's role in recovery hinges on cellular energy dynamics.
Okay.
When your muscle cells contract, they use ATP, adenosine triphosphate. They snap off a phosphate molecule to release energy, leaving behind ADP.
Like a depleted battery.
Yes. And creatine acts as a backup phosphate donor. It rapidly hands a phosphate back to the ADP, instantly regenerating ATP so the cell can keep functioning.
So it's essentially a localized battery charger for the muscle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a perfect way to put it. But in the context of recovery, our sources highlight 2 specific measurable mechanisms.
What's the first one?
First, regular creatine supplementation significantly lowers post-exercise creatine kinase, or CK, levels in the blood.
Let's pause there, because creatine kinase sounds confusingly similar to the supplement itself. What is CK and why do we want it lower?
Good catch. Creatine kinase is an enzyme that naturally lives inside your muscle cells.
Inside. Okay.
Right. When you train hard and physically damage the muscle fiber, like when the cell membrane ruptures or shears, that CK leaks out of the cell and into your bloodstream.
Oh, so it's a distress signal.
It is a direct clinical biomarker of muscle damage. By showing that creatine supplementation lowers the amount of CK in the blood post-workout, the data is proving that creatine actively preserves the integrity of the cell membrane.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You are taking on less structural damage during the workout itself.
That is wild. It's essentially structural armor for the lipid bilayer of the cell.
It really is.
And the second mechanism.
The second mechanism is the speed of force restoration. If you do a brutal lower body session on Monday, your cellular energy reserves are depleted and your force production drops. Supplementing with creatine restores those intracellular ATP pools much faster.
So you bounce back quicker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meaning by Wednesday, your legs can generate their peak power again, rather than remaining fatigued until Friday.
So the protocol is remarkably simple, right? The guidelines recommend 3 to 5 grams daily. But I noticed the sources explicitly state that loading phases are optional.
They are.
Because I know the old school advice was to take like 20 grams a day for a week to saturate the muscle. Why is that optional now?
Well, the loading phase will saturate your intramuscular creatine stores in about 5 days. Which is great if you are an athlete who suddenly needs a performance peak next week.
Right.
But taking 20 grams a day often causes gastrointestinal distress because creatine draws water into the gut.
Yeah, Seneca cramps are no joke.
They aren't. And the data shows that simply taking 3 to 5 grams every single day will fully saturate your muscles within about 3 to 4 weeks anyway.
Oh, so you get there eventually, either way.
Exactly. The destination is exactly the same. The slow route just avoids the stomach cramps.
I love practical synergy, so let me ask a timing question. If I want to minimize my routine, Can I just dump my 5 grams of creatine directly into my post-workout whey isolate shake?
You absolutely can. And from a physiological standpoint, it is the optimal way to take it.
Really? Why?
When you consume 20 to 40 grams of whey protein, especially if you blend it with a carbohydrate source like a banana or some oats,
Yeah.
your pancreas secretes insulin.
The storage hormone?
Right. Insulin binds to receptors on the muscle cell and translocates transporters to the surface to pull nutrients inside.
Oh, wow.
That insulin spike acts as a biological express lane, pushing the creatine into the muscle cells far more efficiently than taking creatine alone in plain water.
That is the perfect intersection of convenience and biology. I love that.
It's so easy.
All right, so we've established our absolute baseline. We have the whey and leucine flipping the mTOR switch, and we have the creatine providing the cellular energy and structural armor to execute the repairs.
The foundation is set.
But as we discussed with our wildfire analogy, the workout didn't just cause structural damage, it started a localized fire.
The embers are glowing.
Right. The localized crisis response has flooded the area with inflammatory cells. This forces us to move from the repair phase to the rebalance phase. We have to manage the embers. And the first line of defense in the anti-inflammatory layer is omega-3s.
Specifically, the active fatty acids found in marine sources, EPA and DHA.
Okay.
The meta-analyses in our stack are very clear on this. A daily intake of roughly 2 grams of combined EPA and DHA significantly reduces DOMS.
Delayed onset muscle soreness.
Exactly. And it blunts the excessive release of a cytokine called interleukin-6, or IL-6, following heavy eccentric exercise.
Let's break down IL-6. We know cytokines are the chemical messengers of the immune system. They're the alarm bells. The muscle tears, the alarm rings, and the immune system responds to clean up the site. But if IL-6 is a natural part of the healing process, why are we trying to blunt it with fish oil? Don't we want the immune system doing its job?
It's a really common question.
Yeah.
It's basically a question of magnitude and duration. You absolutely need the initial acute spike of IL-6 to signal the start of the repair process.
You have to know there's a fire to put it out.
Exactly.
Right.
But if that alarm bell keeps ringing at maximum volume for days, if the inflammation becomes systemic rather than localized, it actually impedes the recovery workers.
So it gets in its own way.
Right. The area becomes swollen, hypoxic, and overly sensitive to pain. Omega-3s don't silence the alarm. They just act as a volume knob. They prevent the inflammatory cascade from overreacting and causing secondary tissue damage.
Okay, the sources also highlight a physical mechanism for omega-3s that I found brilliant. They talk about modulating cell membrane fluidity.
Yes, this is fascinating.
I want to conceptualize this. If we imagine a muscle cell as an exclusive, high-end nightclub,
Okay, I'm with you.
the cell membrane is the bouncer at the door. If you have a diet high in rigid, saturated fats or processed omega-6s, that bouncer becomes stiff, slow, and inflexible.
He's not doing his job well.
Right. It's hard for the VIP nutrients like our amino acids and creatine to get into the club, and it's hard for the metabolic waste products to get out.
That is incredibly accurate.
Really?
Yes. The cell membrane is a lipid bilayer. It is literally constructed out of the dietary fats you consume.
You literally are what you eat.
You really are.
Mm.
Omega-3 fatty acids, structurally speaking, have multiple double bonds in their carbon chains, which gives them a physical kink or bend.
They aren't straight lines.
Exactly. When your body incorporates those bent, flexible omega-3 molecules into the cell membrane, the entire membrane becomes more fluid and permeable. It physically changes the architecture of your cells.
So the bouncer becomes agile?
Nutrient transport becomes highly efficient, and the cell can easily expel the oxidative waste generated by the workout.
So it's actively facilitating the entire recovery ecosystem.
It really is.
But standing in the supplement aisle, the fish oil section is a minefield.
Oh, it's terrible.
You have bottles that cost $5 and bottles that cost $50. Our sources provide very strict shopping rules to ensure you're actually getting this membrane fluidity benefit, don't they?
They do, because the sourcing and the chemistry matter immensely. Fish oil is highly susceptible to oxidation. First, you have to completely ignore the front of the label.
Ignore it completely.
The front will say, like, 1,000 milligrams of fish oil, which means absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Nope. You have to turn it around and look at the nutrition facts. You are looking for the exact yield of EPA and DHA. The standard you want to aim for is at least 500 milligrams of EPA and 400 milligrams of DHA per single capsule.
And if the math doesn't add up to the total capsule weight, The rest is just useless filler fat, right?
Exactly. It's cheap carrier oil. You're paying for nothing.
Yeah.
Second, you want to look for oils processed into the triglyceride form rather than the cheaper ethyl ester form.
Triglyceride. Okay,
Yeah.
why?
The human digestive tract absorbs triglycerides much more readily because it's the natural structure of fats in whole foods.
Makes sense.
And finally, because our oceans unfortunately contain heavy metals, you absolutely must look for third-party testing certifications on the bottle. SEALs, like NSF Certified for Sport, or IFOS.
Because you don't want a side of mercury with your recovery.
Exactly. Those seals guarantee the oil has been molecularly distilled to remove mercury in PCBs.
I'm glad you mentioned the ocean because it brings up a crucial dietary caveat from the sources.
No, for plant-based listeners.
Yes. If a listener is strictly plant-based or vegan, they obviously aren't going to take fish oil. Does that mean they are just locked out of this membrane fluidity optimization?
Not at all. And the biological workaround is actually really cool. Fish don't magically synthesize EPA and DHA themselves.
They don't.
No. They accumulate it by eating marine microalgae. The algae are the actual originators of the omega-3s.
Oh, so we just cut out the middleman.
Precisely. The sources highly recommend marine microalgae supplements for plant-based athletes. They deliver the exact same highly bioavailable EPA and DHA without utilizing fish.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You just apply the identical label reading logic. Ensure the algae oil yields at least 250 to 500 milligrams of both EPA and DHA per serving to hit that clinical threshold.
That is fantastic. It makes the science accessible to every dietary preference.
Truly.
So, omega-3s serve as our baseline daily maintenance. They are the park rangers managing the day-to-day embers of our forest. But what happens when the stress is acute?
When it's not just embers anymore.
Right. Let's say you just finished a grueling, high-volume training block, or you just ran a marathon. The forest didn't just have a controlled burn, it got hit by a firestorm. Omega-3s alone might not cut it. The sources pivot here to the heavy hitters, targeted polyphenols, namely tart cherry and curcumin.
The big guns.
Let's unpack tart cherry first. We are looking at a compound inside them called anthocyanins, right?
Right. Anthocyanins are the naturally occurring pigments that give tart cherries their incredibly dark, rich red color. But biologically, they function as fiercely potent antioxidants.
Okay, antioxidants, we hear that word a lot.
Too much, honestly. But here's what it means in this context. When you push your body to absolute extremes, like a marathon or a heavy lifting competition, your cellular mitochondria go into overdrive. And as a byproduct of that massive energy production, they throw off free radicals.
These are the reactive oxygen species, the ROS.
Exactly. Free radicals are essentially unstable molecules missing an electron. So they bounce around your cells, violently ripping electrons off of healthy proteins and lipid membranes, causing severe collateral damage.
Like a bull in a china shop.
Yes. Anthocyanins step in and voluntarily donate an electron to the free radical. They neutralize it before it can cause structural damage to the muscle tissue.
And the clinical outcomes of this are wild. The studies in our notes show that supplementing with tart cherry juice drastically reduces the amount of strength loss athletes experience 24 to 48 hours post-workout.
It's remarkably effective.
So if I normally have zero power output 2 days after a heavy squat session, the anthocyanins protect the neuromuscular function so I can actually perform. But the protocol is heavily structured, though.
It is. The clinical data supports 240 to 480 milliliters of tart cherry juice twice daily.
Twice daily.
But timing is critical. You start this protocol 4 to 5 days before the extreme event or competition and continue it for 2 days after. You are preloading the antioxidant capacity of your plasma.
Okay, I have to push back on the delivery mechanism here.
Sure.
As someone who carefully tracks macronutrients, 480 milliliters of fruit juice twice a day. That is nearly a liter of juice.
A lot of liquid.
It's a massive influx of simple sugars. We are talking upward of 30 to 60 extra grams of carbohydrates per day. If a listener is in a calorie deficit trying to lose body fat, isn't flooding their system with liquid sugar completely counterproductive?
It's a very sharp observation. And context dictates the application here. If you are an endurance athlete logging 60 miles a week, you actually desperately need those simple sugars to replenish hepatic and muscle glycogen.
Oh, so the sugar is a feature, not a bug.
For them, yes. But you are entirely correct about the individual on a strict caloric cut. For them, drinking their calories is a terrible strategy.
So what do they do?
In that scenario, the sources recommend utilizing concentrated tart cherry extract in capsule form. It extracts the active anthocyanins and leaves the fructose behind, giving you the antioxidant protection without wrecking your daily macro targets.
Perfect. It's about adapting the science to your individual metabolic reality.
Exactly.
Now, let's look at the other major polyphenol, curcumin. This is the bioactive compound found in turmeric root.
Yes.
The 2024 meta-analysis we reviewed shows it significantly lowers our old friends, creatine kinase and IL-6, while drastically reducing perceived muscle soreness. But reading through the biochemistry of curcumin, I realized there's a massive physiological hurdle to actually using it.
There is an enormous hurdle. Curcumin is highly lipophilic, meaning it loves fat, but it strongly repels water.
Like oil and vinegar.
Exactly. Because the human bloodstream is an aqueous, water-based environment, raw curcumin simply doesn't dissolve and transport well. But the bigger issue is actually the human liver.
Yeah, I was reading about the first-pass metabolism. The liver essentially looks at curcumin, flags it as a foreign botanical invader, and aggressively metabolizes it, conjugating it to be excreted in the urine.
It throws it right out. From an evolutionary standpoint, plants evolved polyphenols as defense mechanisms to deter animals from eating them. Our livers evolved incredibly efficient enzymatic pathways, specifically glucuronidation, to neutralize and clear those compounds.
So it's a standoff.
It is. So if you just eat a spoonful of organic turmeric powder or take a cheap, unformulated curcumin pill, your liver will intercept almost 99% of it. Practically 0% of the active curcuminoids will ever reach your systemic circulation to soothe your muscles. It has notoriously, abysmally low bioavailability.
So we have this incredibly potent anti-inflammatory VIP guest, but the liver is acting like an overzealous security guard, actively throwing it out the back door of the club before it can even get to the dance floor.
That is the perfect analogy.
We need a way to smuggle it in. We need a battering ram. How does the supplementation science bypass millions of years of liver evolution?
It requires advanced delivery technology.
Yeah.
You cannot just buy standard curcumin. The sources emphasize two proven, clinically validated battering rams. The first is pairing the curcumin with piperine.
Which is just black pepper extract.
Exactly. Piperine is fascinating because it temporarily inhibits the exact metabolic enzymes in liver and the intestinal wall that destroy curcumin.
Wait, so by temporarily blinding the security guard?
Yes, properine boosts the bioavailability of curcumin by roughly 2,000%.
2,000%, just by adding a pepper extract. That is biological hacking in its purest form. And the second method?
The second, and arguably more sophisticated method, relies on phytosome technology, specifically utilizing phospholipid complexes. The sources mention a patented formulation known as Meriva.
Okay, how does that work?
This process takes the curcumin molecule and wraps it inside a layer of dietary fat, a phospholipid often derived from sunflower oil.
Oh, I love this. Because the body recognizes the fat wrapper as friendly, essential fuel, it eagerly absorbs it across the intestinal wall. It's unknowingly smuggling the curcumin payload straight into the lymphatic system and the bloodstream. It's a biological Trojan horse.
The Trojan horse.
Oh.
That's a perfect way to describe it. It bypasses the liver's aggressive first-pass metabolism entirely.
Incredible.
And because we are using these advanced delivery systems, the effective dose is very specific. You need to ensure you are getting at least 150 milligrams of active curcuminoids, not just total turmeric root weight, twice daily.
And it requires consistency, right?
Yes. The data shows it takes at least 4 weeks of daily use to fully saturate the tissues and see those massive reductions in systemic soreness.
Okay, the picture is really coming together now. We've rebuilt the tissue with protein and creatine, we've managed the daily inflammation with omega-3s, and we have our heavy hitters, tart cherry and curcumin, for the acute firestorms.
We are well on our way.
Now, the sources pivot to a category they label targeted boosters. I find this section incredibly pragmatic because it acknowledges that not every supplement is for every person all the time.
Which is such an important point.
These are specialized tools for specific metabolic or mechanical stressors. Let's start with HMB. It stands for beta-hydroxy, beta-methylbutyrate. It sounds like something you'd use to launch a space shuttle. What exactly is it?
Interestingly enough, it brings us full circle back to our repair phase. HMB is actually a direct downstream metabolite of the amino acid leucine.
Oh, from the protein discussion.
Yes. When you consume leucine, your body naturally converts about 5% of it into HMB. But while leucine is the trigger that starts muscle protein synthesis, HMB operates on the opposite side of the equation. It acts as a shield to prevent muscle protein breakdown. It blunts the catabolic pathways.
Okay, The sources reference an umbrella review encompassing 15 randomized controlled trials. It overwhelmingly demonstrates that supplementing with 3 grams of H&B per day preserves fat-free mass and reduces muscle damage.
Huge benefits.
But I have to play the skeptic based on our earlier discussion.
Go for it.
If I am already consuming high-quality whey isolate and getting my 3 grams of leucine to flip the MTOR switch, why on earth would I spend money on a separate H&B supplement? Isn't it completely redundant?
That is the most important contextual question you can ask. And the answer is, under normal circumstances, yes, it is entirely redundant.
Really?
If you're in a caloric surplus or a maintenance phase, meaning you are eating enough food to sustain your body weight, your training is progressive, and your protein intake is adequate, H&B will do absolutely nothing for you. Your body already has ample resources to prevent excessive tissue breakdown.
Save your money.
Exactly. Where H&B transforms into a highly effective tool is when your biology is under extreme catabolic threat.
So we are talking about periods where the body is actively trying to consume its own tissue for survival.
Precisely. The most common scenario is a strict caloric deficit. When a bodybuilder or an athlete drastically cuts their calories to lose body fat, the body senses a severe energy shortage. To compensate, it will often begin breaking down metabolically expensive muscle tissue to harvest the amino acids for energy.
It eats itself.
In that deeply stressed state, introducing 3 grams of H&B places a protective chemical shield around the muscle fiber, halting the catabolism and forcing the body to burn fat instead.
That distinction is so critical. It's not a magic muscle builder. It's a muscle preserver when the environment turns hostile.
Exactly.
The sources also mention H&B is incredibly valuable during injury layoffs. Like if you tear a meniscus and you can't train your legs for 8 weeks, taking H&B actively slows down the muscle atrophy that naturally occurs when a limb is immobilized.
It's a lifesaver in those situations.
Let's move to the second targeted booster, because this one applies to a huge demographic. Collagen peptides paired with vitamin C. We hear collagen marketed relentlessly in the beauty industry for hair, skin, and nail elasticity, but the sports science literature positions it firmly in the remodel phase of our recovery timeline.
Because we have to remember that skeletal muscle does not exist in a vacuum. A muscle is only as effective as the structures that anchor it.
Right.
Muscles are attached to bones via tendons, and your joints are stabilized by ligaments. The primary structural protein making up those connective tissues is collagen. When you engage in heavy resistance training or plyometrics, you're putting immense mechanical shearing force on those tendons.
And this creates a severe physiological bottleneck, doesn't it?
It really does.
If my muscles are recovering in 48 hours thanks to whey and creatine, but my tendons take a week to recover because they are a completely different tissue type, I'm going to keep adding weight to the bar until my tendon simply gives out.
Yes, that's exactly how you get chronic tendinopathy.
The muscle outpaces the connective tissue.
It's exactly. To support the remodeling of those tendons, the sources recommend supplementing with 15 grams of hydrolyzed collagen, specifically to provide a high concentration of the amino acids glycine and proline, which are the primary building blocks of the tendon matrix.
Now, the actual protocol for this absolutely blew my mind when I read it in the sources.
Oh, the timing.
Yes. We have spent this entire deep dive discussing post-workout windows and daily maintenance. But the literature explicitly states you should take the 15 grams of collagen paired with 50 milligrams of vitamin C 30 to 60 minutes before you engage in loading exercises.
It sounds backwards.
It does. Why are we initiating a recovery protocol before the trauma even occurs? And doesn't taking supplements pre-workout divert blood away from the muscles to the stomach?
You are wrestling with the exact paradox that makes tendon physiology so unique. To understand the timing, you have to look at the vascularity of the tissue.
Okay, vascularity.
Muscles are highly vascularized. They are packed with blood vessels. During and after a workout, they are engorged with blood, so delivering nutrients post-workout is easy. Tendons, however, are essentially avascular.
They don't have blood flow.
Very, very poor blood supply. They are dense, white, fibrous bands.
So how do they ever get the nutrients to heal?
Through mechanical fluid exchange.
Yeah.
You have to conceptualize the tendon as a dense, dry sponge.
A sponge. Okay.
When you jump, sprint, or lift heavy, you are pulling the tendon taut, physically squeezing the interstitial fluid out of it. When you relax the tension, the tendon springs back and acts like a vacuum, sucking the surrounding synovial fluid and blood plasma deep into its matrix.
Wow.
It only drinks when it is mechanically loaded.
That is an unbelievable mechanism. So by consuming the hydrolyzed collagen an hour before the workout, we're allowing the digestive system time to break it down and dump those specific glycine and proline amino acids into the bloodstream.
Yes.
Just as blood levels peak, we step into the gym and start our plyometrics. The mechanical loading actively sucks those circulating peptides directly into the core of the tendon while the window of opportunity is open.
You nailed it. It relies on capitalizing on that mechanical sponge effect.
And what about the vitamin C?
The addition of the 50 milligrams of vitamin C is not arbitrary. Vitamin C acts as an obligate enzymatic cofactor. Once the amino acids are inside the tendon, enzymes called hydroxylases have to physically weave and cross-link them together to form strong, new collagen fibers.
And they can't do that without vitamin C.
Those enzymes cannot function without vitamin C present.
This is exactly why understanding the how and the why is infinitely more valuable than just blindly following a list of ingredients. You have to match the biological mechanism to the physical action.
It's all connected.
All right, we are nearing the foundational bedrock of the remodel phase. The sources label this final layer micronutrient insurance. And the absolute star of this category isn't a complex botanical extract or an advanced peptide. It's a fundamental earth mineral, magnesium.
Classic.
Why are athletes burning through their magnesium store so rapidly?
Because magnesium isn't just a building block, it's an operational spark plug. It acts as a necessary cofactor in over 300 distinct enzymatic reactions within human biology.
300.
At least. Specifically, it is required for the synthesis of ATP, for regulating blood glucose, and critically, for managing the neuromuscular junction.
What happens there?
Every single time your brain sends an electrical signal to contract a muscle fiber, calcium floods the cell to initiate the contraction, and magnesium is required to flush the calcium back out so the muscle can relax.
So during intense exercise, with millions of repeated contractions, our metabolic rate skyrockets and we are sweating profusely. We are literally bleeding out our magnesium reserves.
We are. The sources note that active individuals often require 10 to 20% more daily magnesium than the baseline sedentary population.
What happens when we slip into a deficit?
If you are deficient, the calcium remains trapped in the muscle cell longer. The muscle struggles to physically relax, which leads to microcramping, stiffness, and severely increased post-exercise soreness.
Nobody wants that.
Furthermore, your central nervous system remains locked in a sympathetic fight-or-flight state. Your resting heart rate stays elevated.
Oh, wow.
The 2024 review we examined demonstrated that supplementing with 300 to 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium profoundly cut DOM scores and improved peak torque recovery in athletes.
And it allows them to generate that maximum rotational force peak torque because the muscle fibers are fully recovered and pliable rather than stiff and locked up.
Exactly.
But the formulation is tricky here too, right? You can't just buy the cheapest magnesium on the shelf.
No, you cannot. If you buy magnesium oxide, which is unfortunately the most common and cheapest form, it has an absorption rate of roughly 4% in the human gut.
4%.
Yes. The rest stays in your intestines and acts as a harsh laxative. You must look for chelated forms, like magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate, where the mineral is bound to an amino acid or an organic acid, allowing it to easily cross the intestinal wall into the bloodstream.
And the sources emphasize taking this 300 to 400 milligram dose specifically in the evening. Given its role in muscle relaxation, the evening timing makes intuitive sense. But there is a neurological reason as well, isn't there?
There is a profound secondary benefit. Magnesium actively binds to and stimulates GABA receptors in the brain.
GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid.
You got it. GABA is your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. It essentially tells the rapid-firing neurons to quiet down.
So it calms you down.
By taking your highly bioavailable magnesium in the evening, you are not only flushing the calcium out of the muscle bellies to relieve stiffness, you are actively down-regulating the central nervous system to promote deeper, uninterrupted slow-wave sleep.
Which perfectly loops us all the way back to the ultimate foundation of human physiology. Because we can optimize MTR pathways and manage cytokine storms all day long, but if you are only sleeping 5 hours a night, no amount of specialized supplementation is going to save you.
Sleep is the environment where all of these supplements actually do their work.
Exactly. The sources also briefly mention the critical role of managing other electrolytes, sodium and potassium, especially if you're training in hot climates, to ensure that the electrical signaling from the brain to the muscle doesn't misfire.
Hydration is key.
Okay, let's take a deep breath. We have covered an immense landscape of biochemistry today.
We really have.
We've navigated whey isolates, intracellular creatine kinase, cell membrane fluidity, polyphenols, liver metabolism, and avascular tendon structures. I can easily see how a listener might start feeling that same exact overwhelm we talked about in the supplement aisle.
Right. We don't want to replace one overwhelm with another.
Exactly. We do not want anyone trying to choke down 12 different pills tomorrow morning. How do we synthesize this? How does a busy person actually build a logical, prioritized stack?
We rely on the hierarchy outlined in the guidelines. You build your recovery protocol from the bottom up, step by step, and you do not advance to the next level until the foundation is solid.
Okay, walk me through the levels.
Level 1 is the foundation. Do not even look at the other supplements until you're consistently hitting your daily total protein target of 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, and you are taking your 3 to 5 grams of standard creatine monohydrate daily.
Protein and creatine. Got it.
Those two things alone will cover 80% of your recovery needs.
What's next?
Level 2 is the anti-inflammatory layer. Once your foundation is locked in, add the 2 grams of EPA and DHA from a high-quality, third-party tested omega-3 oil to manage daily membrane health.
Fish oil or algae oil. Check.
Level 3 is where it becomes situational. The targeted boosters. You only pull these levers when the environment demands it. Add the tart cherry extract during a brutal overreaching week. Bring in the Meriva curcumin if systemic soreness is lingering. Utilize the H&B only if you drop into a caloric deficit, and take the pre-workout collagen if your specific training relies heavily on plyometrics and joint loading.
Only when you need them. Perfect.
And level 4 is the micronutrient insurance. Secure your central nervous system recovery and sleep quality with 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before bed.
That framework makes it incredibly actionable. But before anyone buys a single item on that list, we have to underscore the safety and quality control protocols detailed in the sources.
Oh, this is so crucial.
Because the unfortunate reality is that the supplement industry is completely decentralized. It is not regulated by the FDA with the same preemptive rigor as prescription pharmaceuticals.
It is entirely the Wild West. When independent labs pull supplements off the shelf and test them, the rates of contamination with heavy metals, unlisted stimulants, or trace amounts of banned anabolic substances are terrifyingly high.
It's scary.
Even more common is amino-spiking, or simply not containing the active ingredient at the dose printed on the label.
Which is why the third-party testing seals are non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable. You must physically look for the logo of a reputable, independent auditing organization on the tub. The gold standards are NSF certified for sport, informed sport, or USB verified.
What do those seals actually mean?
These laboratories pull random batches of the product, run mass spectrometry on them, and guarantee that what is on the ingredient list is exactly what is in the powder. And more importantly, that there are no hidden contaminants. If it doesn't have a seal, you are gambling with your health.
Wow. Okay, I want to weave in a quick, highly practical FAQ that the sources address, because I know we have competitive runners and lifters listening. Let's say I've dialed in my stack. I'm taking my tart cherry and curcumin, I'm feeling great, and I have a major half marathon or a powerlifting meet on Saturday. Do I keep taking all these heavy-hitting anti-inflammatory supplements right up to the starting gun?
It's a brilliant question. The long-term data shows that taking polyphenol-rich aids like tart cherry and curcumin consistently during a training block does not blunt your overall physiological adaptations.
Good to know.
However, in the acute 24 to 48 hours immediately preceding a major event, elite sports dietitians often advise pausing high doses of these specific compounds.
Really? If they work so well, why pause them when you need to perform the most? Is it a biochemical interference issue?
It's not biochemical. It's entirely practical and mechanical. High concentrations of polyphenols, extracts, and specifically the sugars in fruit juices or the carrier oils in capsules demand significant digestive processes.
Oh, stomach.
Yes. When you are standing on the starting line, your sympathetic nervous system is heavily activated. Blood has rushed away from your stomach and into your limbs. Introducing a heavy load of novel supplements into a nervous gut is a primary trigger for severe gastrointestinal distress. You do not want to be dealing with stomach cramps at mile 10.
The ultimate golden rule of competition. Never, ever try anything new or introduce heavy digestive loads on race day.
Never.
Test your exact protocol during your long training runs, never when the pressure is on. You know, walking through all of these biological mechanisms from the mTOR pathways to the lipid bilayers, it just reinforces the core philosophy we operate on. Tracking your personal data is the only way to move from guessing to knowing.
It really is.
We are all an experiment of one. The dosage that works perfectly for my metabolism might cause issues for yours. Knowledge really is your best personal trainer, and that's what BeFit.ai is all about. We try to share everything you need to make fitness and wellness click. If you want a simple breakdown later, there are free articles that make all this stuff feel clear and doable.
Exactly. That objective tracking is what separates a haphazard routine from a truly optimized protocol. If you implement the tart cherry during a peaking phase, let the data tell you if it worked. Did your 24-hour power retention actually improve? Let your own biology dictate your stack.
I couldn't agree more. And hey, if you're enjoying this episode, we'd love it if you hit like or leave a comment. It really helps us get better at what we do. And honestly, that support is heartwarming. It's what keeps us going and motivates us to keep creating these episodes for you. We read all of them, and understanding what resonates with you helps us refine our research for future deep dives. We've all been that person standing confused in the supplement aisle, and our goal is to ensure you never feel that way again.
It really means a lot to us.
So let's bring this massive journey home. If we strip away the marketing holograms and the neon fonts, the truth is that supplements are exactly that, supplementary. They are the final 5% of the equation. You cannot out-supplement a terrible diet, chronic sleep deprivation, or a poorly designed training program that exceeds your mechanical limits.
You just can't.
You must prioritize whole foods, progressive overload, and 8 hours of sleep first. Once those pillars are anchored, you utilize these evidence-backed tools to bridge the specific gaps. You rebuild with protein and creatine, you manage the localized embers with omega-3s, and you deploy the targeted boosters with surgical precision when the environment demands it.
That captures the hierarchy perfectly. But before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with a deeper, slightly provocative concept to chew on.
Oh, I love a provocative thought. Lay it on us.
It is a philosophical debate currently gaining massive traction in the exercise science community. For the last hour, we have meticulously mapped out how to hunt down and extinguish oxidative stress, how to lower creatine kinase, and how to blunt the inflammatory cytokine response.
Right. We've basically been building a high-tech biological fire extinguisher.
Precisely. But we also established at the very beginning that the controlled trauma, the acute inflammation, the reactive oxygen species, the localized damage, are the exact biological alarm bells the body relies on to trigger the adaptation response in the first place.
Oh.
The damage is the necessary signal that forces the body to grow bigger, faster, and more resilient.
Oh, I see the paradox you're setting up here.
It's a profound paradox.
Yeah.
The question researchers are wrestling with is, if we perfectly optimize our supplement stack, if we take massive doses of antioxidants, ice baths, and anti-inflammatories to completely erase all oxidative stress and instantly quench every drop of inflammation the second a workout ends, is there a chance we are actually shortchanging our own long-term progress?
Oh, wow.
Are we sometimes trying to recover too efficiently, and in doing so, muting the very signal that causes the physiological growth we are training so hard to achieve?
That is a phenomenal paradigm-shifting thought to leave hanging in the air. Are we putting out the fire so quickly that we never allow the heat to forge the steel?
Exactly.
It completely reframes the goal. It suggests that the objective isn't zero soreness. The objective is the perfect Goldilocks amount of stress to force adaptation without causing systemic failure. It's a fine line between supporting recovery and blunting the adaptation response.
A very fine line.
Well, this has been an incredibly enlightening conversation. We took that confusing, neon-lit wall of tubs and broke it down into an elegant biological reality that actually makes sense. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us, for diving deep into the science, and for trusting us to cut through the noise.
Keep training smart, track your metrics diligently, and remember to listen to the signals your body is sending you before you try to silence them.
We will catch you on the next deep dive. Have a great week, everyone.